G'day folks, you're listening to the podcast It's the Whiskey Talking with Harrie and Craig. In this podcast we take a light-hearted look at our current favourite whiskey, things that have got us thinking lately, other things that just pop into our heads while we're talking, and matters that have slowly taken on more significance as we ease our way into the last third of our lives. So kick back, pour yourself a pleasing beverage, and join us on our search for wisdom, thinly disguised as mates having a bit of a banter.
G'day, Harry.
G'day, Craig. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've been travelling through a couple of countries in Europe. Feeling a little jet lagged, but not too bad. Nothing to complain about. I'm not allowed to complain about being jet lagged.
No, exactly.
It's a first world problem.
Exactly right. If it was work, I'd understand it. You know, you can complain about work jet lag, but if it's not work, then you can't complain.
Yeah. Feel like a drink, mate.
Mate, certainly do. What have we got today?
Well, I've got a whiskey that was given to me for Father's Day by my daughters, Maggie and Stella, and it is a Japanese one from a company that I had not heard of before. It's called the Kyoto Blended Whiskey. I've got a few notes here that I've shamelessly plagiarised from the internet.
Very good.
Until 1868, Kyoto was the capital of Japan, and with its 1,000-year history as the beating heart of the country, it gave rise to many of its traditions linked to Japanese culture and religion. In July 2020, the Kyoto Shuzo Company obtained a distillation license, bringing whiskey production to the prefecture for the first time, specifically to Kyotanba-cho, near the Yura River. The site has a wide temperature range between night and day, promising rapid aging of the distillate. So the company's released 3 bottlings since 2021, featuring a special fabric label called Nishijin Ori, used for making traditional clothes, of which the area is one of the nation's largest producers. There are 2 blends of grain and 1 malt, the origin of which is not made explicit, but which, given the extreme youth of the distillery, are certainly made with third-party, i.e. not necessarily Japanese, whiskies. And from another site, I found a description of the whiskey: an exquisite blend of selected malt whiskies and grain whiskies. Taste the spread of the sweet vanilla-like aroma throughout the mouth. Enjoy the well-balanced taste with any drinking style.
What does it mean? Any drinking style? So
I don't know. With ice, without ice, as a mixer.
Lying down, standing up.
Dancing the two-step.
Drinking it with flares. That's all right.
Yeah, that's pleasant.
It's quite mild.
Yeah, definitely a blend. There's no distinctive style. It's not peaty or anything like that.
No. Yeah. And I wonder, because they said they've only been going, 5 years or something. But they must have brought in, like you said, whiskey that must be aged to, otherwise you can't really even call it whiskey, can you, unless it's more than 8 years? Good
point. I don't know.
So it must have been aged. Must blend it with aged stuff from overseas.
Better do some more research.
Don't worry, it tastes all right. Yes. It does taste good. I can taste the vanilla.
So what's been on your mind since I've been away, Harry?
First, a quick fact check. When I think about it, it's not actually fact checks. It's a minor correction. I think I mentioned way back when my love for whiskey started was way back when I watched Suits and found they were drinking all this whiskey. I thought I'd better try that. I had actually tried it before that. My father, for my 21st birthday, bought me my first bottle of single malt. And I think, as you mentioned in previous episodes, that I don't know that I loved it at that point. It was all right. And over time, I think your palate changes and matures, and I found that I drew to love it. But my first, introduction to single malt whiskey was when I was 21, when Dad bought it for me for my 21st birthday.
Okay. And so you don't think that you really liked it that much?
I don't know. I can't remember. I don't think so. I know I didn't drink as much as I do now, so whether that was just I didn't have a lot of whiskey and you didn't have a lot of money. And because it was given to you as a gift, you probably, when you don't have a lot of money, you make it last. Now I don't care so much. Right. I've got dozens of bottles, all half open, and I just try whenever I like. And if I see another bottle I want, I'll buy it, which is much to my wife's chagrin, but that's what happens.
Well, I've got a bit of a follow-up too on something that was mentioned in a previous episode. I can give you an update that the bees in our backyard have gone.
Good.
So our beekeeper, he managed on the second attempt to get rid of them all, and they have been rehoused.
Oh, good.
Out in the bush somewhere. So they're living a much happier life, I think.
Not the story, gone to a farm. Not
No.
that story.
Well, probably literally they have gone to a farm, but I think they're quite happy with that farm. But it did make me wonder about the dangerous wildlife in our suburb of Hillary's. We've had a lot of shark reports along the beach. So Trevor the tiger shark and his mates have been harassing everyone over the past few months, just as the weather's warming up and everyone wants to get into the water.
Yep.
The snakes are out too. They're on the paths and in people's backyards. And of course, we've just been through the swooping season, so magpies have been a constant pest. And then the other day, as I was going for a run, I was accosted by a kangaroo down at the Nodes. I've seen him around a few times, but he's been very nice to stay behind the fence and just come up to the fence and look at you. But this time he was out on the grass on the oval that I run around, and he made a beeline to me across the other side and then chested up to me. And I thought, okay, he's trying to tell me something here. So I'm listening and I walk away very quickly. I let him have it. Let him have the oval.
I don't think you want to take on a kangaroo, especially big grey.
No, they've got sharp claws, those things. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, a bit of a gripe. Just before we went away, I went out to dinner with my mum and my stepfather. We went to a nice Chinese restaurant, had some lovely roast duck, and then we come to pay the bill and we thought we'd just split it 50-50, and we asked the people at the counter and they said, no, sorry, we don't do that. I thought, how hard is it to calculate half a bill and then just type it the appropriate amount into the FPOS machine? It just strikes me as crazy. I mean, where's the customer service?
Non-existent. And like I do understand if you're saying I had the chips and they didn't have the chips, and it becomes far more work for them. Totally understand. I have heard of issues whereby a large group of people and the person who's hosting the party, for example, is the last to leave and ends up paying for all the shared chips and the bread and butter that everybody forgot that they'd all taken off and don't end up paying for it. You end up paying for that bill and then you complain and everybody gets upset. So I understand that. But when it comes to dividing a bill separately, equally rather, in halves or threes or fours, it shouldn't be an issue, I wouldn't have thought.
No, I mean, there are calculators everywhere, on your phone.
Yeah.
It's not hard to calculate.
No.
But interesting that you talk about the itemising the bill and paying for parts of it. So this is my one European story today.
Counting.
So we travelled through Germany, Austria and Italy, and just about everywhere that I can remember that we went and had dinner, they all have a device. It's like a mobile phone, and when they take your order, they just tap in the appropriate. It's pork knuckle for him and 2 beers there, and then at the end of it, many of the restaurants would divide it 50-50. There was no problem for some of them, but others would say, look, it's actually easier for us if you just tell us what you had, and we'll tap it back into the program, and we'll tell you, and we'll just take that exact amount from you.
Yeah.
And it worked beautifully.
Yeah.
So I think I'm hoping that system will come to Australia, because it actually makes things so much easier.
I have seen it. It does exist. Maybe not exactly the same system, but where I've offered to pay, we've asked to pay. Can we do a split bill? Can we do a split bill, meaning 50-50 or 30? And they say, yeah, sure. What did you have? And it catches me by surprise, because I've got to remember what I have. But they will tell you. And they're pretty good. The good stuff. So I think you had this, and this. And you had the chips. Oh yeah, I did too. That's right. Okay, so it only becomes an issue, I suppose, when you share chips with a table and those kind of things. So then you've probably got to split that, or someone's got to take that. But at least being able to offer that to you, it's a nice thing, and it's a reasonable thing. And I don't think we should be able to should have that taken away. And to say that you can't divide a bill by quarters or halves is just ludicrous.
Yeah, I mean, you can see why the alternate system of the QR codes is becoming popular now, where people can just order what they want and pay for it at the time before they even get the stuff. That certainly makes things a lot easier.
Well, I do. I like the fact paying up front, and I know that my son Ben, he's very much like that as well. He gets almost an anxiety that he thinks he's going to, if the bill's not paid. So if he's eating and drinking, having a good time, he has this fear that he may walk away and forget to pay, so he'd rather pay it up front. But back on the QR code, what is the idea? How do they even have the right to ask you for a tip up front when you haven't even received your service? There's no service. Well, the service
You might have been shown to your table, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's right. There's your QR code, and I don't like the QR codes. I don't mind paying up front, but I don't mind going up the front and ordering your meal and paying it, and then I sit down and relax, and and everybody knows what they've had, and there's no fighting as to the split bill situation. But I don't necessarily like QR codes because it's just that I don't feel that you're guaranteeing that person a job. Down the track, it's like ATMs, I suppose.
Yeah, it does seem to be cutting out someone, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And
they'll
they'll promote it as you walk in the door. They'll say, "Oh, there's your QR code. Use your QR code." And I think, well, you're just doing yourself out of a job. But many of them are probably tourists working here short term and really probably don't have a long term desire to be working in that cafe or restaurant, so they probably don't care. But I do feel that you're cutting someone's job by the old QR codes. And my experience with them when they first came out was 2 or 3 times. I remember ordering, so it says, computer says no, so you think, okay, I'll reorder it again because I have to because I'm hungry and I need a drink. Order the same thing again, and sure enough, it comes out twice. And then you've got to explain to them, well, I only had one, I don't need 2 drinks, I don't at the same time, thank you very much. I know I've got 2 arms, but I don't need it. So, yeah, my first experience with them has not been great. I do use them. I find one thing is that I do use them with, if you get a group of people, there's always that 1 or 2 people that farts around forever and you want to eat.
Yes.
And you think, please, can we just eat? And normally I'd get up and go and order it at the counter and come back and they say, oh, have you ordered it? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not happening, I can QR code and they say, oh, what's happening? What is everyone doing? I say, I've already ordered. I'm just waiting for my food. Yeah. And then, I better go do this now. So
yes,
I don't mind the QR code for that. But yeah, I think it's actually not a great system for guaranteeing people's work.
It's great for the people who started up the business. I believe that there's only 1, maybe 2 companies in Australia that run the whole thing.
Really?
So that little extra charge that ends up on your bill, the $1 or something, or a couple of dollars, that's going to all the... So it'd be, and they
don't miss anything either, because there's not the human error, I suppose, only on our part, but that's our problem. There's not, missing the corkage or missing something else, because it's going to be in there, and they don't have to worry about it. Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so I will give you one more European story.
See?
It's just interesting you talk about the tip. So the angst about whether or not you give a tip was solved for us quite clearly in many of the places in particularly Italy, I think it was, and maybe Austria, where they add this cover charge.
Yeah.
And you think, right, well, if you're charging that, you don't need a tip. There's no way we're giving you a tip with that. And in some places, it was quite extraordinary. It was, many euros.
15% or something.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, now you've got us on gripes. It started out as a gripe thinking about it, but then I had some discussions with my nephew, and I realised that it is a real thing. I'm sure it has been, and all sort of. There's a lot of shit that's come about post-COVID or during COVID, and this is probably one of them. So you go into any, I guess, restaurant or place that offers service, whether it's a bank or a restaurant or a shop or bottle shop or anything like public service, maybe a licensing centre or anything, and they've got these obligatory signs saying, we're here to help. We want to do the right thing by you. Our staff are doing the best they can. Well, they don't even say that, but they just basically say aggression and will not be tolerated. The police will be called, or you'll be kicked out off the premises, whatever else is. Totally understand. I totally believe they should have that. I've just found, though, in some instances, it appears to be almost something they can hide behind as far as service. They say, maybe it's just a coincidence the service has gone to shit, and so they put a sign up at the same time. Maybe it's just coincidence. I don't know, but I don't. Banks are the worst, let me just say, because the service didn't really exist much anyway, and there was less and less people, and less tellers, and during the busy time of the day, whether it's their union or what, I don't know. Why is it during the busiest time of the day when people are working and they've got time between, say, 12 and 2 to do their banking, because they're not usually open on the weekends, that's the time that all the staff is not there. And they say, well, the staff has to eat as well. Yeah, I understand that, but if you're in a service industry, why wouldn't you have your lunch at 11:30? I mean, a problem. Start earlier. They should time.
Or stagger the lunch.
Yeah, stagger the lunch. You don't all go off at the same time.
Yeah.
And if you are going to be off. Don't stand there with the next person's sign pretending to do something. You've got a desk. Go do it at your desk. Maybe you don't have a desk. I don't know. But anyway, that's my gripe about that. But then on the other side of it, yes, there's a lot of angry people post-COVID. Maybe there's a lot of chemically altered people as well that are angry all the time, and it is sad. And I have heard the story from the other side where my young nephew is at university at the moment, and he's working at Hammerbarn. So I'm not going to say the name of the company, but it's a large warehouse hardware store, and he loves the job. It's good money, and he's enjoying it, and he loves the people and everything else. But the stories he has told me about people walking in, getting aggressive, picking up a hammer and threatening staff, young girls and young boys, with a hammer or anything they can get their hands on. And it's pretty dangerous, that place, if you want to find something to hurt someone with. And to him, it happens on a fairly regular basis, and so I do understand that the world is a bit different. I think post-COVID, but yeah. So I started out having a whine about these signs and everything else, and now I'm saying, well, there obviously is.
Yeah, I think we've lost the ability to disagree respectfully.
Yeah.
It always, if you do raise a complaint, it comes across as you're just being aggressive.
That's totally.
But really, people are aggrieved, and that should be accepted. But people can't cross the line.
I totally agree. But I think what's happened is the people on the other side, they should never be confronted with that kind of horrible aggression and narcissism. But at the same stage, where is the skill in negotiation gone? There is no negotiation anymore. It is, that's it, put the sign up, that's our policy, stick it up your freckle. I don't, I don't, and that maybe that skill's gone. Maybe there is no negotiation skill, because they're all now saying we don't have to negotiate, because we just say you're being aggressive, when I'm not being aggressive. I just want to know, I want this thing resolved as best as I possibly can, so we're both happy and I can leave here happy. You can't just put this sign up and say, no, the computer does that. You don't have to do that for me. It might as well just be a computer says no. So I think that's my bitch at the moment. But anyway, I'll get on.
Well, interesting that you've been talking about banks, because we have a special guest today.
Oh, yes, that's right, yes. Yeah, so talking about banks, obviously in my career, we rely very, very heavily on the banks, being that we don't produce anything, we don't provide anything. We provide we provide a service, and the service is actually, I guess, putting those that have the money, or the organisations that have the money, in touch with people that need the money. So we basically, as a brokerage, mortgage brokers or finance brokers, we source funds and provide lending to people that need it under with the features and benefits that they require. And during my 35 odd years of doing this, there's some guys and girls that have been around for a long, long time. Some of them have retired. Carlo is the guy that we're going to be speaking to. Carlo was with ANZ all the time that I knew him, and previously other banks as well, so probably 30 or 40 years, I think. And he's now retired and enjoying life. So we'll have to listen to Carlo and see how he's, I'd say, coping, but he has no issues with coping. He's very, very happy to be retired.
Okay, let's listen to him.
Okay, I'm here with Carlo. Carlo has a long extended experience with working with a couple of the major banks in Australia. He is now retired, and he wants to have a bit of a chat with us about what he's doing now and how he planned and moved into his retirement phase. Welcome, Carlo.
Thanks, Harry. Good to be here.
Thanks, mate. As I just mentioned briefly, we probably crossed paths probably 15, 20 years ago, I suppose.
Pretty close.
In the broking industry that I'm still in. You were involved, I think, at that stage with ANZ Bank, we were referring business to, and you were basically, I think, involved probably in as a business development role, but also in credit, I think, were you?
Yeah, I was in credit up until 2004, and then from there I moved over to the sales team.
Yes.
And I took on the senior BDM role and stayed there till 2014 when I retired.
Beautiful. So that was so prior to the ANZ, what was your work life, your career?
I'm banking as well. I worked at Town and Country, which became ANZ, or was owned by ANZ. So I started there in, I think it was 1996. And the broker work started coming through my processing area in 98.
That's right, when it first started.
And that how it sort of moved on, and then I moved into the BDM role later on. But prior to ANZ, I actually worked with NAB for 24 and a half years.
So total years in banking?
43. It's a fair whack.
I guess that probably brings me to my next, question or discussion point, is that being that was such a major part of your life, 43 odd years, did you ever feel when you go out to a social event, etc., and you're speaking to people and people ask, the obligatory question is, what do? You say you work in a bank. Did that get to a point where you felt that, looking back, that actually defined you? You were a banker, or were you somebody who happened to work in the bank?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit hard to define, actually. You're right, people would ask and say, what do you do for a living? And I go, well, actually, I'm retired.
Yeah.
Ex-banker.
Yes.
And I sort of stopped the conversation there.
Good.
Then I allow them, if they want to pry more questions and go from there.
So when you were working, what was the answer? I'm a banker.
Oh, probably mixed. Most people would treat you with respect and, that sort of thing. But unfortunately with banking, how things worked out, I was a manager in Corrigan with NAB in 1985, and you're most welcome with people, and people look at you as a real person. Yeah, they loved you. What happens 10, 15 years down the track? Half of them want to punch you.
Exactly.
So that's unfortunate with the way just things shifted.
Yeah, totally. I mean, probably the same with some other industries I could probably mention, which, like the used car sales or the real estate agents, unfortunately they've been, I guess, tarred with a brush, and sometimes that's a hard reputation to shake. So when you were working, being that you were working in sort of large organisations, first question, so what age did you retire?
60.
At age 60,
age 60, yeah.
After 40 odd years in the banking industry. Yep. Being involved in a large organisation, was there, I guess, any guidance to transitioning into retirement?
Not really, not that I can remember. It was really a matter that if you made the decision to leave, take retirement, you work it out for yourself.
So how close to you retiring had you start to make that decision or that planning? Had you do much planning?
Actually, going back to 2009, when we had GFC,
yes, I
was about 55 then, and my plan was to retire at 55. But once GFC came, it was like, no, the timing's no good. So in discussion with my wife, we decided I'd stay till I was at least 60.
Yes.
And that's what I did. And then as things turned around with the market and everything else, it worked out perfect.
A good time to retire.
60 to pull the pin.
Yeah, perfect. So basically you were planning to retire at, say, 55.
Yep.
Leading up to that, had you decided basically at 54, I'm going to retire at 55, or was it in your early 50s or 50 that you decided?
Probably somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Coming up a couple of years towards it, and thought the 55 was a good time to go. And again, for the reasons apparent with what happened with GFC,
yes,
I left it for another 5 years, which was a smart move at the time.
Totally. Yeah. Well, also, so when you'd made that decision, what was involved in you making that decision? What was the impetus for you to say now is the right time?
I think
besides the GFC,
more of looking forward to doing something different, retiring. My wife actually retired in 2008.
Yes,
in the birth of our first grandchild, and her aim was to
happening at home.
Help look after the little fella, which she did, and we've got a great relationship with him.
Good.
As only my daughter was working 2 jobs and her husband was working, so my wife saw an opportunity to sort of pull the pin and do the homely thing.
That's actually good, because that actually leads me into something else I was going to ask. Now I don't need to, because often there may be conflicts between, I guess, a couple when one retires and the other one doesn't. So I guess part of your decision-making process was because your wife had decided to retire, there was no reason for you to keep working.
Correct.
And you wanted to obviously be part of your grandson's life, and that became probably one of the major reasons, I suppose, besides the fact you were probably, I guess, tired of working and had enough and wanted to do other things.
Yeah, you're getting down to that stage, but more, rather than doing other things, we can more retire and then enjoy the retirement and find things to do from there.
Exactly.
Which is very important. I think anyone who is planning to retire, they need to look at what they will do, because it won't come to you. You've got to go out and find it.
Great, perfect.
And there's plenty out there to do it. There's plenty of stuff to do. So I can't understand some of the retirees when you say, you know, what are you up to? And they go, oh, not much.
Or they decide to go back and consult in their previous job.
Correct.
That retiring? So you had no desire to go back and do any sort of banking or anything else on a consultancy basis?
No, once I was out of there, I was out.
Gone.
You know, I respected the job that I had and I loved it and it was great. But once you move out of there, you're better off making a clean break and, you know, enjoy retirement, but find things to do so you're not sitting around.
So was potential travel a part of your retirement plan?
Yep, we did a few trips overseas and a few to the eastern states and New Zealand and those sort of places. It segmented through over the first couple of years. But what I did do as well, my niece was rebuilding a house in East Victoria Park, and it's one of those areas, old homes, homes and whatever, and her husband did it as an owner builder. As an owner builder, he was actually doing the building himself.
A true owner builder.
Yeah, so you need an extra pair of hands. You can't do it on your own.
No, exactly
so when I first left, I sort of started to glide across, and my late brother and I started to help with the house, and we spent a lot of time there. So some weeks I'd work there 5 days in a row.
And I guess from that point of view, it gives you some sort of, I guess, nice feeling when you're at that house. Are they still in that house?
They're still in the house.
And so you walk past and you see things and you say, well, I did that.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Well, obviously, that probably moves into something else we wanted to discuss as well, is because how long in your life did you realise, being that you're in a job that was administrative, office-bound, etc., you obviously, by helping your niece's husband, niece and your niece's husband, that you were good with your hands. When did you realise that you were actually good at doing things and fixing things, if that's not part of your day-to-day role?
Yeah, I think with me, I was born that way. I still remember pinching Dad's hammer and nails and whatever when he wasn't around, and, you know, belting things around and making things. So I actually grew up in that sort of environment from home to learn how to do things yourself, because like most of us of that era, there wasn't a lot of money around. So, you know, if you wanted something done, you had to do it yourself or find someone who can help you do it. So I had that skill already. My weekends and that would be doing my own stuff at home. So when I retired and my niece was, you know, rebuilding this property, it made sense to go and help.
Totally.
You know, so and I used some of those skills, and I developed a lot more working with her partner.
Doing that. So actually, So I guess, and I find myself, similar situation, is that doing what we do on a day-to-day basis, behind a desk, moving paper, doing whatever else as we do, we're not building anything. And I think you have, for me, and I'm assuming it's yourself, have like an inane desire to see something that we've actually built or fixed or whatever else it is. So I assume that's probably the same with yourself.
Yep, definitely.
Well, that's good, because then when I ask the next question when we discuss the next thing is, well, so what do you do now that you're retired? And we've discussed some travel and everything else, but what is your main focus now? What do you do that makes you get up every morning now?
Okay. What I do is on a Monday, I won't go each day, but on a Monday I belong to the Rossmore Bowling Club.
Yes.
As a social member, play bowls there. We do maintenance work there on a Monday morning, which is all the guys that want to do a little bit of work. So we go down and do all our maintenance work, and we keep the cost of our fees or everyone's fees to a reasonable level by doing all that. Some of the stuff we do is quite involved as far as what it would cost you to get it done from the outside. So that's my Mondays, usually up till about 11 o'clock in the morning. Then I tootle off and go and do my own stuff at home. On a Tuesday, I go to the Canning Vale Men's Shed. I've been a member there for probably 6 years now, and I do half a day a week there. Then I go on a Tuesday. We repair bikes. We repair lawnmowers and anything else we can get our hands on that's within our ability to do. And all the proceeds that come in are banked. And when we've got a little load of money in there, we'll pick a charity that's not too heavy top-wise. In other words, the money will go here and it'll get used for that particular charity. In the 12 years they've been going, they've donated over $300,000.
Wow. What, to the same charity, or they pick
different charities each time. Again, not the ones that are administrative top heavy, because the money disappears very quickly.
And they get money anyway.
Correct, yeah. And they, in their wisdom, we actually applied. I suppose I'll go back one step. There's a charity called Hero Hunter Foundation, and I latched onto it about 12 months ago. My daughter knew a family, or knows a family, who lost a child in 2021 to leukemia. The young fellow was only 8 years old and he'd battled it for 5 years. And then Mum and Dad decided when he had left this earth that they wanted to do something to honour him. So they saw an opportunity, I suppose, or a big gap at the hospitals where the family, generally the carers, the mums and dads and that, who cared for the kids, were there for long hours. Obviously, they didn't want to leave the children. So what they did is there was no food there, so they'd have to go to a canteen. And you know what canteens charge, isn't it? What they give you and everything else.
Normally are pretty crap.
Yeah, they couldn't take their own food in there because of the hygiene issues and whatever. So a lot of them just went hungry. So first thing that this Hero Hunter Foundation have done is they put a fridge in there, and it's full of good food that's nourished, and it's done by a company that's, authorised to do it. And when they need a meal, they go to the fridge and get it, and they put it in the microwave and they eat it. They've provided drinks for them as well. They've helped them with parking, $27 a day. It costs them to park there.
Criminal.
Fuel costs, some of them have to travel a fair way in and out to the hospitals to see their children. And then there's a cleaning of the houses once the kids come out from their treatment. The homes have to be cleaned to a very high standard to make sure that there's a minimal amount of germs around, because otherwise that will that will hinder their recovery. So there's a multitude of things they do. They actually even do a bit of massage for the carers in the hospital, because when you're there day in and day out, you don't go home. No. You're not getting any exercise, you're getting nothing. So my daughter decided, she knows the family very well. They met when they were caravanning. She knew the young fellow that passed away. And she said, Dad, I'm going to do some marketing work to help Kate sort of raise the awareness. Yep. And she said to me, what do you think? And I said, it's a great idea, Kelly. Go for it. I said, I might fix a couple of bikes, having my men's shed tyre. So I'll fix a couple of bikes and I'll sell them. And the foundation can have the money. That's where it started. 12 months later, I raised $12,000.
Oh, congratulations. Good job.
And I've had a lot of people give me the items, I've got people just give me bikes left, right and centre. Some need a lot of work, some need a little bit of work.
Well, I mentioned it to a couple of the guys in the office here, and they said, I wish we had got our bikes. So now they're on the lookout for it now. So you may get some more bikes.
I'll take them.
And I'll take some as well for you, I'm sure.
Yeah. And if I end up in a situation where I've got too many, I'll take them down the men's shed.
Yeah.
Because then they do the same thing. It goes to a charity.
Yeah.
So whatever way, it's a win-win. And the amount of people that I've met, because then I've got to on-sell the bikes as well. I do that separately to the men's shed stuff. So I do it from home. I've got tools. I've got did building, because I've been doing it for a while at the men's shed. I've let a lot off the guys down there. Bike's fairly simple, but there is bits and pieces that.
And it's good to have the right tools as well.
Correct, and you can do more bikes. You can do them better. You can get a better price for them. I'm very big on cleaning them up, getting rid of the rust and all that sort of stuff, so that presents nicely. And I ask for a reasonable price, I'll get it. If I present a bike that's pretty crappy, I'm not going to get the money I want.
And the chances are it's going to end up back on the street verge again.
Yeah, and on a positive note, you're helping the environment as well. Because a lot of those bikes just get tossed down the tip. So you're recycling all this material, which is really, really good. So, I've got to probably pull back a little bit now after the 12 months, because it really is time consuming. But I'm going to continue to do it on a smaller scale.
Perfect.
And,
Well, so what I'll do is, and we're sort of, as I said, we're starting the podcast, but I think we have something called show notes or an email address or something at the bottom. So what we'll do is we'll link, if you're okay with that link, to, so the name of the charity again is?
Hero Hunter Foundation.
Hero Hunter Foundation. Yeah. Okay, so we'll link that. So if anybody's listening in there,
if
you want to find more information about it, then that's what we'll do. So that's keeping you pretty busy most of the days then?
Very busy,
Very
busy. A lot of times you look at a bike and you go, I'll knock that off in a couple of hours. A day later, it's still in pieces because something else is broken or wasn't quite right and you can't do this and you can't do that. But eventually, it might take a week sometimes, might take 2 weeks.
But does that matter? Because you're retired.
It doesn't, because I've got other bikes that I've got to work on. So, that one goes aside while I'm waiting to get parts, and you work on this one here, then you move on to the next one. Other times I'll just strip part of the bike and paint the handlebars. I made 3 bikes there, so I'll take the handlebars off the whole 3.
And you might need parts from one to make up another one.
And that's what we do. So if I get a bike that's pretty hard to fix, like it needs complete repaint to make it look nice and that's a couple of days' work. I go, you know what, I'll trash it. So I take all the parts off it. Unfortunately, the steel's got to go in the bin, but I take it down the men's shed. We get paid for the steel.
Yeah, but say they recycle steel.
Yeah, so we recycle the material as well, and the parts go in the drawer, and I'll use that for another bike. Sometimes it could be the seat, could be the handle grips, could be the cables, could be the shifters, wheels, tyres, tubes. The thing with it is if you go to the bike shop, and no offence, they're all fantastic, and we've got a good one over in Woollerton, or George's Bike Shop in Woollerton. The guys there give us discount on parts and things like that. They also help us if we've got a difficult bike, give us a bit of advice, and they're terrific. But you're paying $16 for a tube, $20 for a tyre, that's probably a cheapie. So if you get a little bike that's $40, you've got to spend $40 to get it roadworthy. So no. You go to a bike that's been stripped, there's a tyre and there's a tube. You put it on it, you go and sell it for $40.
Perfect.
And it's all profit. And that's the way the men's shed operate, and that's what I do with my stuff at home. I very rarely buy anything unless I have to.
So what was your reason to approaching a med shed? Because that's obviously, for people who are listening, men's sheds I think are a fantastic thing. I'm looking at a couple myself at the moment. So where did you hear, or what prompted you to go approach the men's shed in the first instance?
I actually needed some bike parts for my own bike, from memory, because it was a few years ago. And I cottoned on, there was this men's shed in Bannister Road in one of the units. So I went down there. So I go and have a look, see what they've got, because they were selling bikes and whatever. So I pulled in there, and here's a chap that I've known for 40-odd years working there, Richard. And he'd been there for a few years, and he actually runs the men's shed now. It's a long, convoluted conversation to have, but he was there then, and he's now the main guy, because we had to move sheds for reasons that will take a fair bit of understanding or a fair bit of comment. So he was there, and I think from memory I bought a bike for my wife and whatever it was at the time, and I sort of thought about it and went, that's not a bad thing to do. I had a little time on my hands. So within a few weeks of doing that, I went back there and I said, I'd like to join. I'll come one day a week. And I did. I joined. And I started going there one day a week, doing what I'm doing now and learning a lot. And then from there, I just kept going and going and going. And I've moved from where we're in Canning Vale on Bannister Road. We're now at the Alliance Church on the corner of Garden Street and Morton Road in Canning Vale. So a long story how that sort of came about. So so I've just stayed there. It's mainly because of Richard, because I've known him for so long. Actually, his son and I played baseball together, and Richard played in the same club as well.
Wow!
So we go back 40 odd years.
Wow! So it's good. It's interesting that you actually basically stumbled upon a men's shed.
Correct.
You didn't actually make that decision. Where I have decided when it comes to retirement, I've got time. That's one of the first things I'm going to be doing if I'm not caravanning around the country. But we'll see what happens.
Well, there's men's sheds in most suburbs. And they're really worthwhile going to have a look. And a lot of them do different things. There's some that do woodwork only. You know, that's what you like doing. And various other things. And I think most of them, the money comes back into the community somehow.
Which is perfect.
Yeah, they'll make things for the community.
Yeah, or they'll fix wheelchairs, or they'll do.
They'll do that, yeah.
Perfect. All right, mate. Well, that gives us an insight into what it is you do day to day now that you're retired. I guess there's one question that I'm going to sort of ask, and it's a major question, I suppose, at the end of this, is if Carlo could have some advice to young Carlo when it comes to retirement, what's the one thing you'd like to tell young Carlo, positive or negative, that you hadn't, I guess, expected or planned for or necessarily understood was going to be the case with regards to retirement?
Yeah, I think, Harry, the positive side of things is to open your mind up and go, if I want a good retirement, I've got to go and find it myself. So sitting at home, waiting for somebody to knock on the door or to ring up and say, let's go and do this, it just doesn't happen. Not enough. So you need to sort of look at what you like doing and then start finding out where it is and then go and get it.
Perfect.
You know, and you sort of set it up on the basis of what you can handle at the time. You can change later on if you find that the path you've gone down, or paths, if you're doing a few different things, aren't working, you pull back and you go and do something else.
There's no right or wrong answer, is there?
There's no right or wrong answer, mate. It's a matter of, you individually is creating something for yourself. When you got a job, you had to go and find it. Retirement's sort of the same. You're retired, you want a good retirement, go out and find it. See what you want to do, whether it's play golf or, whatever you do. I kept my interests up. I played men's softball. I kept it up until 3 years ago. So I was one of the old fellas playing on a Saturday afternoon. Loved it, enjoyed it. That was part of my whole thing. But I like working with my hands. So I was doing the bikes and doing the men's shed and all that stuff. And if I can help someone out because of my hands and what I can do, I put my hand up. When you're retired, it's your time. You can do what you like. And if you find somebody, like there's quite a few older people in my street, I never hesitate. If I see them doing something that they shouldn't be, I'll go up and give them a hand, take the shovel off them or whatever.
And you don't suffer afterwards with shoveling? And
sometimes. Sometimes. I get the aches and pains like everyone. But being a little bit younger than some of them, you can see they probably shouldn't have a shovel in their hand. No. I'm just using that as an example. It could be anything.
Exactly.
So, it never hurts to say to someone, come on, I'll give you a hand with that.
Mate, you're a good fella. Thank you very, very much,
Thanks,
Carlo.
Mate. Thank you.
All the best. Cheers, mate.
All right, well, that was really interesting. Carlo seems like he's having a great time in retirement, and he raised a couple of interesting points I think that would be worth us having a chat about.
Yeah.
One in particular was that he views retirement not so much about stopping work, but changing work, so that he's now using his skills and energy to do what he sees as personally meaningful activities.
Yeah, totally. And I think that with him, he got obviously involved in the men's shed, and he didn't even know that he had a skill in fixing bikes, but picked that up through basically through not necessity, but it's just something he thought he'd try, and it was through the men's shed, and he was helping at fixing bikes, and then realised that he could tie that in with a charity that he was very passionate about, and was able to then tie the two together. I think the men's shed does in fact donate money to his chosen charity, but he also does that on the side as well. He gets the bikes and does it, and he finds it, I guess, very, very rewarding, and it gives him something to do other than play golf.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've already talked about in a couple of other episodes, and I've heard other people talk outside of this podcast, is that sometimes if someone's been in a highly structured work environment and then they retire, that loss of structure that employment provides is often quite destabilising for new retirees. So Carlo was talking about how his week is structured around the regular activities. So he goes to bowls and does the maintenance stuff on the Mondays, and then the men's shed stuff I think is on the Tuesdays. So those sorts of things are fairly regular. I mean, he doesn't have to do them if he doesn't feel like it, but they are there, and they do sort of provide him the structure.
Exactly right. I think, and that's what I think. When the previous time you talked, I think spoke to Jeff in the previous episode. But it is, some people need structure, and I don't know that I do, but some people need structure, and I think the great thing that Carlo is doing is finding that structure in something that's other than work. Something that he enjoys, but he still likes to have the Monday I do this, Tuesday I do that, Wednesday I do this. Where I think when we spoke to Jeff last time, he said, well, if it doesn't happen today, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or maybe next week. So he's probably less structured. I think that's what he said in his discussion with you as well. But yeah, Carlo obviously likes structure, and I think anybody who's worked in the bank for that long, it's a hard thing to get out of. So rather than missing the structure and trying to say, well, back in we used to do this and we used to do that, well, do something else. and do it on those days if that's what you want to do. Have some structure in your retirement.
Yep. It's an interesting concept. So I've at various times in my career had structure. So particularly during teaching semesters, certain things happen on certain days. It's not so much like that anymore. And certainly for me, my when I haven't been teaching, it hasn't been like that. But I do still do things on certain days. Like for instance, my mum usually drops over on a Wednesday, and so and I usually often have dinner with my kids on a Monday, for instance. But I'm thinking sometimes even for me, if I retire. I'm the sort when I retire, I'll be still wanting to, in my mind, achieve things. Not so much, world-beating achievements, but just do some things. I can't even think of an example at the moment. Getting podcast episodes out, for instance, and having that done in a sort of semi-regular way is a way of keeping track and making sure that after a certain time, like a week or a month or something, you've got something done. Because I think if I didn't have a structure of some sort, it might be easy to let things just keep sliding, and then you get to a month later and you think, oh God, I still haven't done anything like I was hoping to do.
But okay, so that's good, and that is good because that just points out how probably different we are. In that, I'm probably, I guess to use someone else's term, probably more fast and loose, and I know that I can manage without structure, and I think you're totally right. You've had probably a transition from when you were very structured with your lectures and your days and everything else, and you've less of it. I don't think I've had structure in my job. I probably should, for probably the last 10, 15 years, because I don't sit down, and I probably should be structured. And I know I'm not. It's not going to change. I could see clients on a particular day, and might not see another client for another 4 or 5 days, and I see another client for a particular day, and I'll see them when it suits them and when it suits me. I don't say every Monday I've got to see clients, every Tuesday I've got to do back office stuff, every Wednesday. And as I keep saying, I'll probably be far more efficient if I did, but it's never going to happen. And I know that whether it's the ADHD or whatever it is, I will fart around from one thing to another and flit around and do it. It gets done, and if it doesn't at this stage, I don't stress too much about it. In fact, I'm stressing less about it. So I think as I become retired, I'll be even less structured. You'll still have structure. I know you'll still have structure, and I'm glad you do, because otherwise the podcast will never get done.
Yeah, every couple needs one person to be structured.
Exactly, and I rely on you to do that, because I feel guilty that it's not going to be done, but at the end of the day I think, oh well, it'll happen, it'll sort itself out.
Yeah. And the last thing that I thought was really interesting from Carlo was his advice, which is basically that retirees should be proactive about seeking out activities rather than waiting for opportunities to turn up.
Yeah, so true. And again, similar vein to what Jeff had said, that when he said, do you get bored? And he said, well, if you get bored, find something to do. Go for a bike ride, I think his words were. So it's only you. You have no boss other than your wife. You have no boss or anybody telling you this is what you have to do and this is a structure, so it's totally up to you. And I think probably that's what a lot of people maybe fear, those that have had to rely on supervisors or managers or somebody else telling them, or shareholders even, telling them this is how you should be and this is what you should do and this is when it needs to be done by. Once that's taken away, you can sit there and say, well, what do I do, and just vegetate. You need to then say, well, maybe there's my structure coming back. Tomorrow I will do this.
Yeah, so rather than wait to get an agenda from your work colleagues or whatever, you now got the opportunity to set your own agenda.
Yeah, totally.
And I think the happiest people are probably the ones who can do that.
Yeah, but it has to be flexible too, because in your agenda you have to include your holidays and everything else. But even I think the funny thing is that even if you're on holiday, say if you're caravanning or anything else, there is still a set routine of things that you have to do.
Yep.
Whether it's 5 o'clock drinks with everybody, but you get there, you got to set up, you got to get the site, you got to get the caravan level, you've got to pull the things out, you got to do this, get the annex set up, get the awning set up, and all of that sort of stuff. So there's still a structure, and maybe we all do still need some sort of structure, but how you structure and what you put in that structure is totally up to yourself. And if it doesn't happen on a day, I'm more like Jeff. If it doesn't happen on a day, well, tomorrow will be fine.
Yeah, That's right. Yeah, I mean, hopefully we've got plenty of time to play with.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, that's it. And like we've said before, health is a little bit harder to control. Your fitness level, though, is something that you can control, well, to a point, and you want to be able to do stuff because you need to be physical. Even when you're 70 and 80 years of age, you still need to be able to do stuff. And we've got this, in fact, perfect opportunity to interview someone maybe down the track, but one of our friends, he's still caravanning at 80, 85, 86, I suppose. Wow. And mate, unbelievable. And this is not an easy caravan. And he's still, him and his wife, they still go out and do it. And you can talk to him caravanning as long as you like. And he knows everything about caravanning. He still does it. And I'm not talking about ducking down to Mandurah. I mean, he's happy to drive. He's done the Gibb River Road. He's done it all. So it's amazing. And he's an old fellow. And he just, he loves it. And I think, well, that's good for me. Because I think, well, that's another 20 odd years I can still keep doing this.
Yeah. We'll definitely interview him and make sure it's under a gum tree with the magpies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
So just a minute ago you mentioned 5 o'clock drinks. I reckon it might be about time for that.
Oh yeah, is it 5 o'clock yet? 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, 5 o'clock.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Harry.
Cheers.
And see you next time.
Yep, see you next time, Craig.
It's the Whiskey Talk. It's written and produced by Craig Spielman and Harry Swanson. All music is written and performed by Craig Spielman. The audio was recorded at The Wardrobe in Perth, Western Australia. We value your feedback about the show, especially any information you can provide on issues we've discussed that we can share with our listeners. We'd also love to hear any whiskey recommendations. Our email address is whiskytalking@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We all benefit profoundly from more listening.